All right, so welcome back, everyone. So the Caribbean Sustainable Energy Conference is set to take place on June 10th at the Trinidad Hilton. To tell us more about the event is Dr. Dax Driver, President and CEO of the Energy Chamber of Trinidad and Tobago. Dr. Driver, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. All right, so Dr. Driver, let's talk a little bit about the agenda of this year's conference.
Well, so the conference itself runs over 2 days. At the Hilton. On the first day, we are really looking at the key issues in Tobago and what those are to decarbonize our energy sector. We're going to be looking at something called carbon border adjustment mechanisms. These are new measures which have been introduced, which really are going to impact our exports of commodities. We're going to be looking at carbon capture and sequestration and at methane reduction. Carbon capture and sequestration is when you take CO2 and you sequester it in geological formations underground, or you plant forests. There's the two major ways you can do it, and we're going to be looking at both of those. Yeah. On the second day, our focus shifts very much to renewable energy. We have some really good speakers from around the world and around the Caribbean on various renewable energy projects which are being implemented. Particular focus on geothermal energy. That is where you drill into basically into volcanoes, the sides of volcanoes, and you take the heat, superheated steam from that to run electricity generation. There's projects ongoing on that in Dominica and in Nevis. And so it's a fantastic technology, which I think has a lot of promise for the region. And then also at the marine fuel sector. This is a sector which is hard to decarbonize, like aviation. There's sort of two sectors which are hard to decarbonize because electric motors are not really going to work for long distance marine travel. So you have to find fuels which you can decarbonize. So there's a major opportunity which Trinidad and Tobago has in that area because of our methanol industry, which is one of the key fuels which can be used to decarbonize shipping, but also biofuels as well can also be used, and also LNG. So then that's going to be another focus on that second day, and then we're going to finish with a session which is going to look at it's really the launch of a new Caribbean Energy Chamber. This is a region-wide chamber of which we are part, and it's going to be. It has been launched already as sort of a soft launch before, but it's going to be a big launch here in Trinidad at our conference on the second day. And then the third day, what we always do with this conference is we actually go out into the field. So we have a visit out. So we're going to go down to the TGU facility down in Le Bray and let delegates understand how combined cycle natural gas powered power stations work, and get a chance to see that and see why that's important for energy efficiency in the country. So that's the final day of the 3-day event.
Yeah. Dr. Driver, judging from what you have told us, it seems that a lot of things are happening in the energy industry. It also gives me the impression that we in Trinidad and Tobago and also the Caribbean, we have to embrace the technology and what is happening in the energy sector for us to really survive, right?
Sure. I mean, the energy transition is happening. There's a huge move globally to decarbonize the production of energy and of petrochemicals, the feedstock into a lot of the manufacturing process. And that's happening. So we have to respond to that. We can't sort of pretend that it's not going on. That does not mean that there's not a long future for the oil and particularly for the gas industry. So a lot of the focus is going to be how do we reduce the carbon footprint of our gas production, because that's part of the whole thing about decarbonization. I think a few years ago, a lot of people were sort of putting up renewable energy and fossil fuels in opposition to each other. We think that's the wrong approach. That the world needs to have both of these sources of energy and these and the commodities created by both by renewable electricity and by fossil fuels. But what we need to do is make sure that we are reducing the carbon footprint that goes along with producing those, and the technology which is there available to us to make those changes. I think what sets perhaps our conference apart from some of the other renewable energy focused conferences in the region is that we are looking at not just at the electricity sector and renewables, but also the industrial sector is a major focus. And how do you reduce the carbon footprint of that industrial sector? And the jargon is the hard to abate sectors, things where it's actually harder to make the changes. Some things are quite easy. That involve massive shifts as this low-hanging fruit that is there for some sectors. The electricity sector is one way you can reduce the carbon footprint by bringing in renewables. There are limits to that, but it can be done fairly without huge, massive investments, at least up to sort of 20% of a grid. But there are other sectors where it's very difficult to decarbonize, like aviation, like marine transport. So we have a focus on those as well, because obviously Trinidad and Tobago being a major industrial player in the Caribbean, that is sort of what we think we're bringing to the table. But it's very much we very much see this as an and conversation. It's all of the technologies, not an or conversation where you're having to pick one or the other.
Yeah. So, Dr. Driver, I think it is safe to say that the wheels have been turning and have begun turning. But how do we really, as Trinidad and Tobago and the region and other countries that are heavily invested in oil, how do we try to strike the right balance where we have a symbiotic relationship between oil and gas and also reducing the carbon footprint?
Well, I think actually it is just about that question about balance. It's a question of continuing to invest in our fossil fuels. The world needs the energy from our fossil fuels, a growing global population. There's people who are in energy poverty around the world, and they need the energy which is produced by those fossil fuels. And we must continue to do that, even as the world is then ramping up its production of renewable energy. But that's a very long process. So the investment in fossil fuels must continue for the world to continue to function. I think this is just the reality of the situation. You cannot just shut down the world's energy systems. That would throw the world into terrible poverty and actually into starvation as well, because the world relies upon fertilizers produced from fossil fuels to feed the world's population. So we must continue with the investment in those areas, but we must do so in such a way that we are reducing the carbon footprint associated with that. So, for example, natural gas has a very important role in the world in the electricity sector, and because what we are seeing is that natural gas displacing coal. Coal obviously has a much higher carbon intensity than natural gas, so it's much better if we produce electricity from natural gas in terms of the carbon emissions. But to produce that natural gas, one of the things that you have to be very careful about is that you don't vent, so release into the atmosphere the natural gas, because a major component of the natural gas is a gas called methane. Methane actually has a very high global warming effect as well, so you do not want to put methane into the atmosphere. Obviously, you want to keep as much as possible and use it productively. So, one of the big focus from the oil and gas industry in the last few years is how do you make sure you're not releasing any methane into the atmosphere, and that it all goes into productive uses, for example, in electricity generation, or going into ammonia to make fertilizers to feed the world. Yeah.
So just picking up on that point, because the conference is also going to be exploring new technologies in pursuit of reducing greenhouse gas emissions. You think that there has been really a paradigm shift by organizations in really embracing these new technologies as it relates to greenhouse gas emissions?
Yeah, I mean, I think there clearly has been a shift over the last decade or so. Very much a clear commitment to meeting the emission reduction targets from the major companies. They have to get that that the investment portfolio right. So there has been, I think a clear understanding the last couple of years that you have to continue to also invest in natural gas production and in oil production as well, because the world needs those commodities. And the big disruption that was created by the Russian invasion of Ukraine to global energy markets, I think, showed vulnerability of the world to disruptions in those supply chains of energy. In that case, it was really natural gas going from Russia to Europe, and the big impact that had in the world. So that means that there's a real strong role for reliable suppliers of natural gas and oil, like Trinidad and Tobago, or like Guyana now, as Guyana is this very fast-growing, exciting producer of oil. The world needs those commodities. But as we produce them, we must make sure that we try to reduce the carbon footprint associated with producing them.
Yeah. Dr. Driver, who's the energy conference for? And I'm speaking about the attendees, the prospective attendees. So who's it for, and what are the benefits of attending the conference?
Sure. So, Energy Chamber is a membership organization. Our primary focus is always on our members. We expect most of the delegates to come from our membership, so that's from the industry in Trinidad and Tobago. We also have people coming in from Antigua and from Barbados and from Suriname and from Guyana, from around the region as well. People who are involved in the energy industry. So that's the primary focus. It's important for the small energy service companies who are in our membership to understand that the direction that the companies are moving in, that the major players are moving in, what their strategies are, and therefore be able to respond. So that's a key objective that we have. But also then making the links with policymakers. So we are very pleased that the Minister of Energy will be attending, because there are policy changes which are needed. The Environmental Management Authority and other key government agencies who will be there. University of the West Indies and University of Trinidad and Tobago also are there. And one of the things we try to do with this conference is really reach out also to the universities, because that's a lot of where the research work has to happen to implement these changes that we need. Yeah,
and there's still time for people to register for the conference.
There's still time to register for the conference, to attend in person or attend virtually. We have a reduced student rate as well. So students at the University of the West Indies and University of Trinidad and Tobago, there is a student package for them also to attend the conference. So I'd encourage anyone who is thinking about coming to register as soon as possible. Everything is through our website. We try to do everything digitally through the website. So energy.tt. Follow the links from there. And the registration is all there online, either to attend, to be a delegate, to come to the Hilton on the Monday and the Tuesday, and then on the tour on the Wednesday, or to attend virtually if people prefer that option.
Yeah. Dr. Driver, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. We do have up all of your contact information, and we wish you all the best for your conference. Bye for now.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we are going to a very short break, but first we do have this for you. It's a photo from a viewer. Yeah, that's a very nice picture. It makes you feel to put a chair there and sit down and have a cool drink. Yeah, we're coming back, everybody.